So some people have joined late. Let's start it again. So we are doing question number 45 of paper 2 environmental sciences, and this question is from statistics. Let's talk about this question. The assertion says that the regression analysis is suitable for two variable having a linear relationship between them. So this is absolutely true. Nothing wrong in this statement as far as the assertion is concerned, right? As far as the assertion is concerned, there is nothing wrong in this statement, right? Now let's talk about the reason, whether the reason is explaining this or not. Let's talk about the reason. So the causal relationship between the two variable is never curvilinear. ये किसने बोला कि कभी कर्व लीनियर नहीं हो सकती? This is absolutely wrong. This is absolutely wrong, right? This is absolutely wrong. Okay, so as far as the reason is concerned, the causal relationship between two variable can be curvilinear, right? So this statement is absolutely wrong. ऐसा कभी कोई थंब रूल नहीं है कि हमेशा लीनियर ही होगा, कभी कर्वलिनियर नहीं हो सकता. That is absolutely wrong. So that's why this is wrong, and hence the correct option here would be third, which says A is correct but R is not correct, right? So we will put up some more light about these assertion reason question. Like in the theory, we have provided uh, most of the suitable things here. Let me show you. The correct answer is third here. So you can see when we talk about the regression model, so how we interpret regression model. So basically, if you see the equation of a linear straight line relationship between two variable y and x, so you can see here yi is equal to beta naught beta 1 xi. So y is, so you can see here beta naught is the regression constant. All the things have been explained here, right? So and or intercept, and that is the value of y when x equal to 0. So x is basically the independent variable and y is dependent on x, as can see been here, right? And beta 1 is basically the slope. Furthermore, adding to this detail, yeah, you can see here the name of these variables, like independent variable x, which have been shown in equation, and dependent variable which is y, right? That you have to remember, that which one is dependent variable and which one is independent variable. That is important. Yeah. So all these models have been discussed. Like if you talk about the linear model, so the linear model is sometimes written as like this: Ey is equal to b naught b1 plus x, right? So this equation suggests that the average or expected value of y depends on the corresponding value of x, right? Once again, y is a dependent variable and x is independent variable, right? So then the expected value of the dependent variable, which is your y, increase with increase in x, and x is basically the independent variable. So these are some of the additional stuff which you must know, right? Then we have given other things here to support, right? Like you can see here we have multicollinearity, right? Okay, multicollinearity is there, right? So keep this in mind. It could be a curvilinear relationship also. So with this, we are done with question number 45. Anyone having any doubt in this? Anyone having any doubt regarding question number 45? जल्दी बताइए फटाफट. Quickly respond करते रहेंगे. Clear है. चलिए आगे आ जाइए. क्वेश्चन नंबर 46 को देखते हैं. ये क्वेश्चन बेसिकली आपका मिला जुला क्वेश्चन है फ्रॉम पेस्टिसाइड्स and persistence organic pollutant, which have been discussed well in your theory when we were teaching the theory. So let's see what the question says. It says following are the examples of persistent organic pollutant. So it's basically talking about the POPs, right? It is basically talking about the POPs or persistent organic pollutant. And we have had up enough amount of detail when we were discussing the POPs. So let's what it wants to ask. So choose the correct answer from the option given below. So we have to choose the correct things about the POP from the option given below. So let's see one by one the each option we see. So if we see dioxin basically persistent organic pollutant, right? And it comes into POPs also, dirty dozen also, right? So dioxin is there, dioxin is still there, right? Then volatile organic compound. Let me tell you, volatile organic compounds are not a part of persistent organic pollutant. They are not mentioned under persistent organic pollutant, though this VOC is absolutely wrong. They have nothing to do with the POPs. They are not at all related. Then if you come to polychlorinated biphenyl, yes, they are a part of persistent organic pollutant, right? They have long life, right? Remain in the environment, right? So polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, are the part of POPs or the examples of POPs. Then furans, yes, dioxin and furans both are there in the case of POP. It is also an example of POP. Then we have organochlorine pesticide. Organochlorine में कौन सा आ गया आपका, such as DDT, eldrin, dieldrin, lindane, BHC, all of them are there with the examples we have taught you. So they also come under POPs, and hence C, D. This should be D rather than C. So A, C, D, and E statement are correct. And if we go by these statements, so the option number 4 would be the correct option for 46. So option number 4 would be the correct option for 46. Now let's see some of the details about these POPs, which have been briefly mentioned in our solution. So let's talk about certain briefings about the POPs. So you can see here we have mentioned about them. Yeah, so persistent organic pollutants, sometimes known as forever chemical or organic compounds that are resistant to environmental degradation through chemical, biological, and photolytic process, which have been mentioned here. If you see, it have been mentioned here in these lines. And then because they are persistent, POP bioaccumulate with potential adverse impact on human health and environment. Effect of POP on human and environmental health was discussed with the intention to eliminate the severely restricted their production by the international community at Stockholm Convention. If somebody asks you, they are related to persistent organic pollutant. In 2001, many POP are currently on the verge of the past use as pesticide, solvent, pharmaceutical, industrial chemical, although some POPs arise naturally from volcano and the man-made vital total synthesis. So this was some of the briefing about the POPs. And as mentioned, like halogenated compound are there, right? And we have been given the property. Long range transport is one of the property of POPs. Bioaccumulation, they show bioaccumulation also. Pesticide are also under this category, like we have mentioned the examples which are given there, like eldrin, dieldrin, chloridane, right? All of these are organochlorine. Then we have certain polychlorinated biphenyl, they are under also POP, right? Then we have byproducts such as hexachlorobenzene, polychlorinated dibenzopyridioxine. These are the examples of POP. So all the detail have been included here. Eldrin, chloridane, DDT, all of them, dieldrin, endrin, heptachlor, hexachlorobenzene, Mirex, toxaphene, polychlorinated biphenyls, which are the examples of these. PCDD, right? PCDF, all of them are under POP. Is this thing clear to each and everyone? Anyone having any doubt in question number 46? So VOC have nothing to do with it. All the statement that are given there are correct. Okay. आगे चलते हैं, क्वेश्चन नंबर 47 को देखते हैं, which is also a good question. Question number 47 is also a good question. Yeah. Question number 47 is basically from atmospheric dynamics, and both the experts, Ali sir as well as Abhishek Mishra sir, have taught you this pretty well. And this question is very well related to Bay-Ballett's law also, right? So it is basically extrapolation of Bay-Ballett's law also. So if we see question number 47, right? Let's see the question. It's a very good question from atmospheric dynamics. So it says that cyclonic wind flow in northern hemisphere in counterclockwise direction. This is absolutely true. This is absolutely true. So they take this kind of pathway, right? When you talk about northern hemisphere, right? Northern hemisphere, cyclonic wind, they travel in counterclockwise, or what you call as anti-clockwise direction. This is absolutely true, right? Then it says that second step, if you stand with your back to the wind in the northern hemisphere, right, low pressure will be on your left hand side and high pressure will be to your right hand side. This is also true, and this is basically the reason why, right? So this is basically the explanation of Bay-Ballett's law. Bay-Ballett's law, this is there in your booklet 3, right, as well as taught by both the experts. So it says that if you are like here and you are standing like this facing that side, so if you stand like this, right, so what will happen, Okay, I hope everyone is there. There was slight issue with the connectivity thing, and we are back. Okay, so I have told you about this question number. Yeah, so I was telling you about this question number 47, right? So I was telling you about this question number 47, where I told you that this is both the statement are correct. So we have one end we have Bay-Ballett's law here, and the other hand the same explanation have been given. So this is also correct, and this is also correct. So the correct answer here would be first, because both the statement are true. I hope everyone understood this. Is it clear to everyone? Anyone having any doubt till here? जल्दी बताइए फटाफट जी, quickly. Anyone having any doubt till here? जल्दी से बताइए quickly. Anyone any doubt in this question? Okay. Now let's move to the next question. It have been see here mentioned very nicely. In meteorology or atmospheric dynamics, you have Bay-Ballett's law may be expressed as follows. In the northern hemisphere, if a person stands with his back to the wind, the atmospheric pressure is low on the left hand side and high on the right hand side, as mentioned by depicted by this cartoon also, right? So you can see it very easily. Okay, so low to high, high to low, so you can see. Okay, and that's why it is anti-clockwise, right? Counterclockwise. This is because the wind travel counterclockwise around low pressure zone in the northern hemisphere. So you can see here. Now let's move to the next question. Yeah, this is a very easy question and come from CFC, which is a part of climate change unit given in your booklet 1. So it's a very easy question. If you ask me, very, very easy question. So it's a very simple, and all of you know the naming, how to name a CFC. So the chemical composition of CFC 113 they are asking, which is very simple. I have told you each and every time, just simply the number which is written in front of this, you have to add 90 to this. So once you add 90 to this, you will get 203. And 203 you can write like this. The first digit will indicate the number of carbon. The second digit will indicate the number of hydrogen. Third digit will indicate the number of fluorine. And rest of the valency will be fulfilled by chlorine. So if we will start constructing this formula, how come it will come? I will show you. So we have two carbon. Keep your eyes open. We have two carbon. So we can keep it like this. We have 0 hydrogen, we have 3 fluorine. So if I will put up these 3 fluorine like this, then I will be left with 3 valencies. And I said to you, the rule says rest of the valency is fulfilled by chlorine. So I will put here chlorine, 1 chlorine, 2 chlorine, 3 chlorine. So this is the basic formula, and it comes out to be C2F3Cl3, right? C2F3Cl3, which is none other than option number 1, which is none other than option number 1. You can check. We have 2 carbon, C2, we have 3 fluorine, F3, and then we have 3 chlorine, right? Cl3. So the first is the correct answer as far as this question is concerned, 48. So it's an easy question. All of you have been taught how to name a chlorofluorocarbon in the class. Is this clear to everyone? Anyone having any doubt in question number 48? जल्दी बोलिए, quickly respond करिए. चलिए आगे चलते हैं. Okay, next question, which is question number 49. It's a very good question and it have been asked from energy, uh, which have been taught by Ali sir as well as me in the separate sessions. So let's see this question. Question number 49. It says what? It says that which of the following is the major product of slow pyrolysis of biomass. So when you have slow pyrolysis of biomass, see there is two process. One is called as pyrolysis, another one is called as incineration. So in the incineration, we heat the substance at a very high temperature in the presence of oxygen. In the pyrolysis, we heat the substance in absence of oxygen at high temperature, right? So we can see that slow pyrolysis of biomass leads to what? So first let's do the briefings, right? So pyrolysis is basically the thermal decomposition of biomass occurring in the absence of oxygen. This is very important. The statement is itself very important. Keep that in mind because multiple times this question have been asked, right? And it is the fundamental chemical reaction that is the precursor of both the combustion and gasification process and occur naturally in the first 2 seconds. The product of biomass pyrolysis, see here, including biochar. So biochar is the first correct option with us, right? So biochar here is the correct option as far as the choices are given, right? So biochar would be the correct answer because other guesses have not been preferable here. So the correct option would be your biochar. So the correct option here is first, which is biochar. And we have included all the other details about biochar in the preceding stuff like pyrolysis basics we have discussed, that how the biomass being heated, and then we have slow pyrolysis, how it comes out to be, and then how it is getting converted into other stuffs. Like you can see result in the production of three phases gas, condensable vapor leading to bio oil and char, which is biochar basically, right? So that is the main stuff. And here we have shown that how they get converted into other stuffs, right? So all the stuffs have been included and this is covered in your well covered in your notes also and the class also, right? Okay. Yes, अगर more than one option देगा, but more than one option तो है नहीं ना भाई, यहाँ पे more than one option तो नहीं दिया हुआ है ना, ठीक है? more than one option देगा तब की तब देखेंगे. प्रोडक्ट पूछेगा बेसिकली, तो बायोचार इज द फर्स्ट चॉइस. ठीक है, सारा प्रोसेस हमने डिटेल में एक्सप्लेन किया है कि कितना कितना यील्ड करता है, ठीक है, कितना कितना यील्ड करता है. काफी डिटेलिंग्स have been designed, so that's why I request you guys to read the solution very carefully because sometime one or the other technicality will pay you well in the exam. So now let's move to the question number 50. I hope nobody is having any issue with question number 49. जल्दी बताइए भाई, किसी को इशू है क्वेश्चन नंबर 49 में? जल्दी बोलो. Anyone having any doubt in question number 49? Okay, now let's move to the question number 50. It's a very simple process and have been asked very nicely. Question number 50. So the question says that consider the following regarding the incineration process of solid waste. See, in the other process they ask about pyrolysis, here they ask about incineration. So if you know the details very well, then you know everything. right? So okay, so see, incineration in definition itself says that whenever you burn anything in the presence of oxygen, right, that is called as incineration. Means it's an oxidative process because we are adding oxygen. So let's talk about the option as per given. Choose a correct answer from the option given below. So it's an oxidation process, right? Absolutely true, because we are heating the substance in the presence of oxygen. ठीक है, चाहे वो सॉलिड वेस्ट का कर रहे हो चाहे किसी का भी कर रहे हो, इंसिनरेशन तो इंसिनरेशन है. सो ए इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. सेकंड, the two major combustible chemical elements are carbon and hydrogen. Absolutely true, because जो भी यहाँ पे आपका सब्सटेंस प्रेजेंस होगा सॉलिड वेस्ट में, मोस्ट ऑफ देम विल बी ब्रोकन डाउन इनटू कार्बन एंड हाइड्रोजन. ठीक है, मोस्ट ऑफ देम विल बी ब्रोकन डाउन इन कार्बन एंड हाइड्रोजन. नेक्स्ट देखते हैं, सेलुलोज इज द बायो वेस्ट इज ट्रांसफॉर्म इनटू ऑर्गेनिक एसिड. नहीं, ये नहीं है. ठीक है, ये तो गलत है. जब आपका इस तरह से इंसिनरेशन होगा तो ऐसा नहीं होता. एक्सेस सोर्स ऑफ एयर इज नॉट नेसेसरी. ये गलत है. एक्सेस सोर्स ऑफ एयर इज रिक्वायर्ड. ये भी गलत हो गया. तो सिर्फ आपकी दो स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट द सॉलिड वेस्ट इंसिनरेशन, ए एंड बी. And if A and B is correct, then we have only one choice in the option, which is third. तो आपको बड़े पीसफुली पढ़ना है. मोस्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन थॉट प्रोसेस से भी आप ठीक हो जाते हैं. और कनेक्ट करना है कि मैंने क्या थ्योरी पढ़ी थी इसकी, क्योंकि आपको पढ़ाई गई चीजें हैं सारी. ठीक है, ये आपको सारी चीजें पढ़ाई गई हैं. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं है इसमें. आपको ये पता है इंसिनरेशन क्या होता है. आपको ये भी पता है कि जब भी कोई इस तरह का वेस्ट बर्न होता है तो सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म में कार्बन और हाइड्रोजन केमिकल एलिमेंट की फॉर्म में हमें मिलते हैं. आगे आ जाइए, कुछ डिटेलिंग्स देख लेते हैं इसकी. सो द करेक्ट ऑप्शन हियर इज थर्ड फॉर क्वेश्चन नंबर 50. अब देखिए, बड़ा अच्छा यहाँ पे एक्सप्लेन कर दिया फिर से कि इंसिनरेशन इज बेसिकली waste treatment process involve the combustion of organic substance contain waste material. Incineration and high temperature waste treatment system as described as thermal treatment. Incineration of waste material convert the waste into ash, flue gas and heat. The ash is mostly formed from organic constituent of the waste and they make the form of solid lumps or particulate carried by the flue gas. The flue gases must be clean or gaseous particulate pollutant before they are dispersed into atmosphere. In some cases the heat is then generated by incineration and can be used to generate electric power. तो ये waste to power generation वाला concept भी कुछ कुछ जगहों पे यूज किया जाता है. but yeah, here they have mentioned, yeah. So in the incineration with energy recovery is one of the several waste to energy technologies such as gasification, pyrolysis, anaerobic digestion. While incineration and gasification technology are similar in principle, the energy produced from incineration is high temperature heat, whereas combustible gas is often the main energy production from gasification. Right? तो यहाँ पे बिलो लाइंस में आप देख सकते हैं, इंसिनेटर रिड्यूस द सॉलिड वेस्ट मास टू ओरिजिनल वेस्ट बाय 80 to 85% and the volume already compressed somewhat in garbage trucks by 95 to 96% depending on composition and degree. So largely it depends upon the composition also, what is there in that waste, right? Yeah, so we have already seen that what are the main thing. तो ये आप थोड़ा सा इसका डिटेलिंग देख सकते हैं, that what is there, right? So ये तो आपको याद रखना है कि ऑक्सीडेटिव प्रोसेस है क्योंकि इंसिनरेटर है, राइट? और गैसेस आपकी इनफ्लक्स करनी पड़ेगी आपको, तो ये ध्यान रखना है इसमें मेजरली. या and rest are other details like, and then you have to keep an eye on this also, like incinerator burning municipal solid waste produce the pollutant carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide and particulate containing heavy metals. ये क्वेश्चन कई बार रिपीट हो चुका है. The generation of pollutant can be controlled by proper operation by the proper use of air emission control devices including dry scrubber, ESPs, fabric filter and proper stack heights. ये भी आपको अच्छे से थोड़ा डिटेलिंग इसकी पता होनी चाहिए, बिकॉज sometime the examiner target this aspect also, right? Okay, so I hope this question is clear to everyone. Nobody is having any doubt in question number 50. Is it clear to everyone? किसी को कोई डाउट है क्वेश्चन नंबर 50 में? जल्दी बोलो फटाफट, जल्दी जल्दी बताते चलो भाई।